The scanner beeped 3 times before Rinth believed what he was seeing. Something was moving through the dead zones, and it was not supposed to be there. He adjusted his tentacles nervously across the control panel. The Asherin Collective had sent him to investigate rumors, nothing more. Strange signals near the border territories where humans used to live. 500 years ago, the Galactic Council had voted to exile humanity from known space. Too violent, they said. Too hungry for resources. Better to let them fade away in isolation. Everyone assumed the humans had died out by now. Without galactic trade routes and advanced technology from other species, how could they possibly survive? The reports said human colonies would collapse within a generation. Rinth guided his small survey ship closer to the coordinates. A trading station floated in the void, powered down but structurally intact. He ran a deep scan. The station was old, definitely human design from before the exile. But the maintenance logs showed activity from just 3 weeks ago. That made no sense. He docked carefully and entered through the airlock. The interior lights flickered on automatically, responding to his presence. Everything was clean, well maintained. No dust, no dica. The kind of upkeep that required regular attention. The main terminal still had power. Rinth accessed the logs with shaking appendages. Thousands of entries. Trading records going back decades. Ships arriving and departing on regular schedules. Cargo manifests showing rare minerals, processed goods, and technologies. All the visitor records had been erased. Every single ship identification had been scrubbed from the system. Someone had taken great care to hide who was using the station. Rinth moved deeper into the facility. The cargo bay held empty containers marked with human writing. Old Earth languages he barely recognized. He found a break room with chairs sized for bipedal beings. A calendar on the wall showed dates marked in Earth Standard Time, current up to last month. His comm device chirped. The survey ship AI was detecting more signals in the sector. Dozens of similar stations, all supposedly abandoned, all showing recent activity. Rinth returned to the main terminal and tried to recover deleted files. The security was beyond anything he had seen before. Whoever maintained these stations understood Galactic Council encryption protocols perfectly and had built defenses specifically against them. He managed to extract one partial message. A communication log fragment from 2 months prior. The language was human English, but the dialect was strange. Evolved. Different from the records in Council archives. The message read, "Shipment arriving at Junction 7. Maintains silence protocols. The Council still thinks we are ghosts." Ghosts! Rinth felt cold despite his environmental suit. The humans were not extinct. They were hiding, operating in secret. And based on the scale of activity his sensors were detecting, they had been doing it for a very long time. He spent 6 hours documenting everything. Photographs, sensor readings, copied logs. The Council needed to see this. When he finished, he prepared to leave. That was when he saw the carving. Someone had scratched words into the metal wall near the airlock. Simple letters, done with a cutting tool. Deliberately placed where any investigator would find it on their way out. The message said, "We remember. We grew. We will return." Rinth stared at those words for a long time. The humans remembered their exile. They had not forgiven. And somehow, impossibly, they had survived and grown in the 5 centuries since the Council had cast them out. He rushed back to his ship and set course for Council space. His report would change everything. The species they had tried to erase from history was still out there, watching, waiting, building something in the darkness beyond known space. His ship jumped to faster-than-light speeds. Rinth could not shake one thought. If the humans had survived this long in secret, operating stations and trade routes without anyone noticing, what else had they built? What else were they hiding? 3 weeks later, Rinth presented his findings to a closed session of the Galactic Council Security Committee. He showed them the evidence, played the recordings, shared the sensor data. The committee members reacted with disbelief at first, then concern, then something approaching fear. "How many stations did you detect?" the Torvin representative asked. 247 in that sector alone, Rinth answered. "And my ship only scanned a fraction of the dead zones." The committee chamber fell silent. We need to investigate further, someone suggested. We need to prepare, another voice countered. If humans have been operating secretly for 500 years, we have no idea what capabilities they possess now. The committee chairman, an elderly Krell with silver scales, raised one clawed hand for silence. We expelled them from civilization. We took their worlds and claimed their territories. We assumed they would disappear. He paused, his eyes distant with worry. Instead, they adapted. They survived, and we never noticed. What do we do? Rinth asked. The chairman looked at him with an expression that might have been regret. We find out what humanity has become in our absence, and we hope they are more forgiving than we were. But Rinth remembered those carved words. We remember. We grew. We will return. Somehow, he doubted forgiveness was what the humans had spent 5 centuries preparing. The cargo freighter Distant Promise shuddered as another blast hit its shields. Dallas gripped the console and watched her shield strength drop to 12%. Pirates closing in, her co-pilot announced. 3 ships. They are jamming our distress signal. Dallas cursed. They were hauling medical supplies to a mining colony in the fringe territories. No weapons, minimal shields, and now surrounded by raiders looking for easy profit. Route all remaining power to engines, she ordered. Maybe we can outrun them. The pirates had other ideas. They matched speed easily and began cutting through the cargo bay doors with plasma torches. Dallas could hear the metal screaming through the hull. In 5 minutes, maybe less, they would breach the ship. She reached for the emergency beacon. If she was going to die, at least someone would know what happened. Before she could activate it, her sensors went crazy. Multiple contacts dropping out of faster-than-light travel. Big contacts. Warship-sized. Who is that? Her co-pilot asked. Dallas pulled up the visual. 3 vessels, sleek and dark, with designs she did not recognize. No identificación marcas. No response to hails. They simply moved into position around the Distant Promise with precise military efficiency. The lead ship targeted the pirate vessels. No warning. No negociación. Just overwhelming firepower that turned all 3 pirate ships into expanding clouds of debris in under 30 seconds. Dallas sat in shocked silence. The weapons technology she had just witnessed was decades ahead of anything in Council space. Maybe more, her comm panel chirped. A voice spoke in clear, unaccented galactic common. Freighter Distant Promise, you are safe. Recommend immediate course to your destination. These shipping lanes will be secured. Who are you? Dallas managed to ask without a pause. Then, we are the keepers. Safe travels. The 3 warships accelerated away and vanished into faster-than-light travel before Dallas could ask anything else. She looked at her co-pilot. Did that just happen? The mining colony was grateful for the medical supplies. But Dallas could not stop thinking about those mysterious ships. She asked around. Other freighter captains had similar stories. Pirates eliminated by unknown defenders. Rescue operations conducted by ships with no identification. Resources delivered to struggling colonies with no explanation. Always the same message. We are the keepers. Dallas decided to investigate. She spent her off time tracking patterns. The keepers appeared mostly in the fringe territories, the regions near the old dead zones where humanity used to live. They protected trade routes, responded to distress calls, and disappeared before anyone could get answers. She found something interesting in the wreckage database. Salvage crews had recovered pieces of the destroyed pirate ships. The weapons' signatures were unknown to Galactic Council military analysts. But one engineer had found something curious. Microscopic manufacturing marks on a damaged hull fragment. The kind of automated tags that high-tech facilities embedded in their products. The tags were in human binary code. Dallas felt her blood go cold. Humans. The species the Council had exiled 500 years ago. Everyone thought they were extinct or at best barely surviving in primitive conditions. These ships were anything but primitive. She dug deeper. False identification records. Trading licenses for companies that did not exist. Shipping manifests that traced back to ghost corporations. The more she investigated, the more she realized the truth. Humans had never stopped trading with the galaxy. They had simply done it under fake identities. For centuries, and their products were everywhere. That new shield generator design that cut power consumption by 40%, human innovation sold through a Torvin company. The medical scanner that could detect diseases weeks earlier, human technology marketed by an Asheran corporation. The faster-than-light drive improvements that made long-distance travel 20% more efficient, human engineering licensed through dozens of intermediary species. Galactic civilization had been using and benefiting from human advancement for generations without knowing it. Dallas compiled her research into a report and sent it to the Galactic Intelligence Network. They responded within hours, ordering her to come to Council headquarters immediately. The debriefing room was cold and filled with senior intelligence officers. They listened to her evidence without interruption. When she finished, the room stayed silent for a long minute. "We have been tracking similar patterns," the lead officer finally admitted. "Your research confirms what we suspected. Humanity has built an extensive shadow economy. They operate openly in our markets, but hide their true identity." "Why?" Dallas asked. "If they have this kind of technology, why hide?" The officer pulled up a star map. Hundreds of systems highlighted in red. "These are confirmed human colonies we have identified so far, all in the dead zones or beyond Council space. They have shipyards, research facilities, industrial centers. Population estimates suggest billions of humans spread across hundreds of worlds." Dallas stared at the map. "That is impossible. They were exiled without technology or support. They adapted," another officer said. "500 years ago, we assumed they would collapse. Instead, they unified. Every nation, every colony, every faction working together for survival. They built their own civilization from nothing. And they did it so quietly that we never noticed." The lead officer shut off the map. "We are preparing for contact. The Council needs to decide how to handle this situation. Humanity is now a major power whether we acknowledge it or not." Dallas thought about those 3 warships. The Keepers, protecting trade routes and saving lives anonymously. "They could have attacked us," she said quietly. "The Council exiled them, took their territories. They have every reason to hate us. But instead they are out there protecting our people." The officer nodded, "Which makes them either very forgiving or very patient. We are not sure which possibility concerns us more." The Border Patrol vessel received an unusual transmission at exactly noon, Galactic Standard Time. A formal request for diplomatic passage into Council space. What made it unusual was the sender. The Terran Union, a government that officially did not exist. Lieutenant Bauer studied the message 3 times before forwarding it up the command chain. Within 2 hours, every major government in the galaxy knew. Humanity was announcing itself. The diplomatic vessel arrived at the designated coordinates right on schedule. It was beautiful in a way that made Bauer uncomfortable. Smooth lines, integrated systems, materials that seemed to absorb and reflect light simultaneously. This was not the ship of a struggling species barely surviving in exile. This was the ship of a civilization that had mastered advanced technology. "They are requesting permission to approach Council headquarters," the communications officer reported. "Granted," Bauer said, though the decision was not really his to make. Every sensor in the sector was tracking that ship. Half the Council fleet had quietly moved into position. Everyone wanted to see what humanity had become. Ambassador Grace stepped off the diplomatic vessel wearing a simple gray suit. No weapons, no guards, just calm confidence that made the assembled Council representatives nervous. She was tall, dark-skinned, with silver streaks in her black hair. Her eyes held the kind of patience that came from knowing you held the stronger position. "Members of the Galactic Council," she began, her voice carrying across the vast chamber. "The Terran Union formally requests recognition as a sovereign government and seeks to establish diplomatic and trade relations." The Torvin representative stood immediately. "Your species was exiled 500 years ago. You have no legal standing in Council space." Grace smiled, not mockingly, but with genuine amusement. "We have no legal standing?" Representative We control over 2,000 star systems. Our population exceeds 800 billion across 417 worlds. Our economy produces more goods and services than the three largest council nations combined. Whether you grant us legal standing or not, we exist. The question is whether you will acknowledge reality. She activated a holographic display. Star maps showing the extent of human territory. Economic data demonstrating trade volumes. Technology assessments comparing human capabilities with council standards. Military strength estimates that made several representatives gasp audibly. For 5 centuries, we have operated in your markets under assumed identities, Grace continued. Not because we were weak, but because we chose to avoid conflict while we rebuilt. Your scientists use our medical technology. Your ships use our drive systems. Your colonies use our agricultural methods. We have been supporting galactic civilization anonymously since before most of you were born. The Krell chairman leaned forward. Why reveal yourselves now? Because hiding no longer serves our interests, Grace answered simply. We are ready to take our place as full participants in galactic affairs. We are offering you the chance to acknowledge us peacefully and establish proper relationships. And if we refuse, the Asheran representative's voice held thinly veiled hostility. Grace met his eyes calmly. Then we will continue as we have been, operating in your economies, protecting your trade routes, advancing your technology. But without official recognition, we cannot be held to any agreements or treaties. We will act in our own interests without restriction. I suspect you would prefer to have us bound by diplomatic protocols. The chamber erupted in argument. Some representatives demanded humanity be expelled again. Others recognized the reality of the situation. A few calculated the economic benefits of formal trade with the Terran Union. Grace waited patiently through it all. Finally, the chairman called for order. Ambassador Grace, your claims are extraordinary. How can we verify them? We have provided documentation of every statement I have made, Grace replied. But if you need practical demonstration, I can show you something interesting. She pulled up another display. Crisis events from the past century. Wars, famines, economic collapses, natural disasters. Dozens of situations that could have devastated entire regions. This conflict between the Vorton and Hecate systems, Grace said, pointing to one entry. It was heading toward total war. Then suddenly both sides agreed to mediation. Do you remember who suggested the compromise? The Vorton representative nodded slowly. A trading consortium called the Phoenix Group. Phoenix Group is a human organization, Grace revealed. This famine on the border worlds? Solved by agricultural technology from Terra and Nova Research Institute. Also human. This pirate crisis in the Outer Rim? Resolved by security forces from the Keepers Initiative. Also human. We have been preventing catastrophes and saving lives for decades. You just never knew it was us. The revelation settled over the chamber like heavy gravity. The species they had cast out as too violent, too dangerous, have been quietly holding galactic civilization together. Why help us? Someone asked. We exiled you, took your colonies. You should hate us. Grace was quiet for a moment. 500 years ago, you judged humanity by our worst moments. Wars, resource conflicts, political violence. You saw a species that fought too much and loved too little. You were not entirely wrong, but you made one critical error. What error? The chairman asked. You assumed we could not change, Grace said. The exile forced every human nation to cooperate or die. We had no choice but to unify. Our old conflicts meant nothing when we were struggling to survive. We learned to work together, to share resources, to value every human life because we needed everyone to rebuild. She paused, letting her words sink in. You tried to break us. Instead, you forged us into something stronger. We became a species you wished we had been. United, innovative, and yes, protective of others who face hardship. Because we remember what it was like to be abandoned and written off as hopeless. The chamber stayed silent. We are offering you partnership, Grace concluded. We can continue to help your civilization thrive. But this time we do it as equals, acknowledged and respected. Or we can go back to being ghosts in your systems. The choice is yours. The vote took 3 days. In the end, pragmatism won. The Terran Union received formal recognition and a seat on the Galactic Council, but everyone knew the real power dynamics had shifted. Humanity was no longer asking for permission. They were simply informing the galaxy of what already existed. The emergency alert interrupted the Council debate about human trade agreements. Every representative received the same urgent message simultaneously. Something was coming. General Torvan pulled up the sensor data on the main display. At the edge of known space, a fleet had appeared. Thousands of vessels. Design unknown. Technology unrecognizable. And they were heading toward inhabited systems. "Are they hostile?" someone asked. "We sent 3 scout ships to establish contact," Torvan reported. None returned. "We found debris." They were destroyed with weapons that completely disintegrated the hulls. The chamber descended into chaos. Questions flew from every direction. How many ships? How fast were they moving? What did they want? Torvan raised his voice over the noise. "We are calling them the Devourers based on what happened at the Helican system. They arrived, stripped every resource from 3 planets, including the atmosphere, and moved on. The colonies had 6 million inhabitants. No survivors." The word spread through the chamber like ice water. 6 million dead in a matter of days. Ambassador Gray stood. "How long until they reach the core systems?" "At their current speed, for months," Torvan answered. "We are mobilizing the entire Council fleet. But our initial projections are not optimistic. Their technology is far beyond ours." "What about requesting aid from the advanced species in the outer sectors?" the Asheran representative suggested. Torvan shook his head. "Already tried. They are evacuating. No one wants to fight these invaders." Grace tapped her communication device. "Give me a moment." She stepped away from the council floor and spoke quietly into her communicator. The conversation lasted less than 2 minutes. When she returned, her expression was carefully neutral. "The Terran Union is willing to assist in the defense of the galaxy," she announced. The Torvan representative who had opposed human recognition scoffed. "No offense, Ambassador, but if the combined Council fleet is insufficient, what can humanity possibly contribute?" Grace looked at him with something that might have been pity. "You still do not understand what we became during our exile. Shall I show you?" She sent a signal from her device. Every sensor screen in the Council chamber suddenly displayed new data. Fleet positions. Thousands of them. Terran Union warships decloaking across 3 entire sectors. The chamber went silent as representatives stared at the impossible numbers. "We have been monitoring the Devourers for 80 years, Grace explained calmly. "Since they first entered the Galactic Rim. We tracked their movements, studied their tactics, analyzed their technology. We have been preparing for this. 80 years. Torvan looked stunned. "Why did you not warn us? Would you have believed us?" Grace asked. 5 years ago, you thought we were extinct. Even now, half this chamber wanted to reject our diplomatic credentials. If we had appeared claiming to know about an extragalactic threat, you would have dismissed it as human paranoia. She was right, and everyone knew it. "So what do you propose?" the chairman asked. "Full military cooperation," Grace said. "You have numbers. Millions of trained personnel across dozens of species. We have technology designed specifically to counter the Devourer threat. Together we might stand a chance." "Might?" someone echoed nervously. "They consume entire star systems," Grace said bluntly. "This would not be easy, but the alternative is extinction. For all of us." The vote was unanimous. The Terran Union was granted full military authority to coordinate galactic defense. Admiral Hayes arrived at Council headquarters within 30 hours. He was broad-shouldered, gray-haired, and carried himself with the bearing of someone who had spent a lifetime in combat. His briefing was direct and without political softening. "The Devourers strip resources at the molecular level," he explained. "Their ships convert matter into fuel for their fleet. Planets, asteroids, stations, even stars eventually. They're a nomadic civilization that consumes everything in their path." "How do we fight them?" Torvan asked. Hayes pulled up tactical displays. Their shields are designed to absorb energy weapons and redirect the power to their engines. Conventional tactics make them stronger. We developed weapons that disrupt their molecular conversion process. It makes their own technology work against them. He showed footage of test engagements. Terran ships hitting Devourer vessels with strange purple energy beams. The enemy shields collapsed. Then the ships tore themselves apart from internal explosions. We have spent 8 decades perfecting this, Hayes continued. But we need your fleets to draw their attention while our ships position for strikes. This requires coordination between species that have never worked together. We exiled you, the Krell chairman said quietly. You could let us face this threat alone. Let the Devourers destroy the Council. Why help? Hayes looked around the chamber. Because my daughter lives in a colony near the Vorton system. My grandson serves on a research station in Council space. My sister married a Torvan engineer. In 500 years, humans spread across the galaxy and built lives among your people, even if you did not know we were there. This is not just your home. It is ours too. He straightened his uniform. You cast us out, yes. But that does not mean we will stand by and watch billions die. We are better than that now. We chose to be better than that. The first joint fleet exercises were awkward. Council crews and human officers had to learn to work together. Different languages, different protocols, different tactical philosophies. But slowly, coordination improved. Renth found himself assigned to a Terran destroyer as a liaison officer. He watched human crews work with an efficiency he had never seen before. Every person knew their job perfectly. No wasted movement. No hosetaschen. Why are you so prepared? He asked the weapons officer one day. The human woman smiled sadly. When the galaxy abandons you, you learn to be ready for anything. We do not expect rescue. We do not wait for someone else to solve our problems. We handle it ourselves. Is that what the exile taught you? Among other things, she agreed. Mostly it taught us that we only have each other. So we make sure we are enough. The Devourer fleet entered Council space right on schedule. And waiting for them was the largest combined military force in galactic history. The first wave hit the defensive line at dawn, Galactic Standard Time. 3,000 Devourer ships against the combined forces of the Terran Union and Galactic Council. Admiral Hayes watched from the flagship bridge as the battle unfolded. Council vessels formed the outer perimeter, drawing Devourer fire. Their shields held admirably, buying precious seconds. Behind them, human warships charged weapon systems designed for one specific purpose. All ships, fire pattern Delta, Hayes ordered. The purple beams lanced through space, passing through the Council ships without affecting them. A carefully calculated frequency that only interacted with Devourer technology. When the beams hit enemy shields, the effect was immediate. The shields tried to absorb the energy, but the molecular disruption spread through their conversion systems like a virus. Devourer ships began exploding from the inside out. Their own resource extraction systems turned against them, but the enemy adapted quickly. They shifted shield frequencies and kept coming. For every ship destroyed, 2 more took its position. The numbers were overwhelming. Pull back Council forces to secondary positions, Hayes commanded. Human fleet, advance. Renth watched from his liaison station as Terran destroyers moved forward with surgical precision. They were outnumbered 5-1, but they fought like nothing he had ever seen. Perfect coordination, weapons fire that never missed. Damage control teams that repaired systems faster than enemies could destroy them. How are you doing this? He asked the human officer beside him. 500 years of preparation, she answered while managing 3 tactical screens simultaneously. While you had peace, we trained. While you traded, we built. While you forgot about us, we remembered everything. A Devourer dreadnought broke through the defensive line and headed straight for a Council carrier. The carrier's shields were failing. Evacuation alarms sounded. 3,000 crew members about to die. A human destroyer intercepted the dreadnought. Much smaller, massively outgunned. But the captain did not hesitate. She rammed the Terran ship directly into the Devourer's main weapon port and detonated the reactor. Both ships vanished in a ball of fusion fire. The carrier survived. That captain had a family. the human officer said quietly, seeing Renth's shocked expression. Husband and 2 children. But 3,000 council crew also have families. We do the math and make the hard choices. The battle raged for 18 hours. Station sensors tracked every moment. The Devourers were relentless, but the combined fleet held the line. Barely. Then the second wave arrived. 5,000 more ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel. We cannot hold against this, General Torvan transmitted from his command ship. We need to fall back to the core worlds. Negative, Hayes responded. If we give them these systems, they will consume the resources and grow stronger. We make our stand here. We will all die here, Torvan said. Maybe, Hayes agreed, but we will die buying time for evacuations. We will die protecting those who cannot fight. That is what soldiers do. He opened a channel to the entire fleet, human and non-human crews. This is Admiral Hayes to all vessels. I will not lie to you. The odds are bad. Many of us will not survive this day. But remember what we are fighting for. Not territories or governments. We are fighting for every innocent being behind our defensive line. Every family, every child, every person who depends on us to stand between them and annihilation. His voice grew stronger. The Devourers think we're just resources to be consumed. They think we are weak because we value things besides survival. They are wrong. Our strength comes from what we protect, from who we stand beside, from the choice to fight for something greater than ourselves. Renth felt something shift in the crew around him. Humans and aliens working side by side. Species that had been enemies generations ago. All united now against a common threat. All ships, execute Maneuver Omega, Hayes ordered. The combined fleet split into smaller groups and scattered across the battlefield, confusing the Devourers, making them divide their forces. Then the human ships revealed what they had been hiding. New weapons. Larger versions of the molecular disruptors. But these did not just disable ships. They created cascading disruption fields that spread from one Devourer vessel to another. Like dominoes falling, the enemy second wave started collapsing. Chain reactions spreading through their formations. Shields failing across entire sectors. Council forces pressed the advantage, focusing fire on disabled targets. Their fleet is breaking, Torvan reported, disbelief in his voice. They are retreating. Renth could barely believe the sensor readings. The Devourers, the unstoppable force that consumed entire civilizations, were running away. Should we pursue? A council captain asked. Negative, Hayes said. Let them go. We hurt them badly. That will make them cautious. The bridge crew erupted in cheers. Humans and aliens celebrating together. They had won. Against impossible odds, they had actually won. But Hayes did not join the celebration. He stood at his command station, staring at the casualty reports. 247 ships destroyed. 30,000 dead. Names and faces he would carry with him forever. Renth approached him carefully. Admiral, we won. We survived, Hayes corrected. Winning would mean those 30,000 were still alive. He looked at Renth with tired eyes. Your people asked why humans are willing to sacrifice so much for a galaxy that exiled us. This is why. Because every life matters. Every person deserves protection, even those who wronged us. I do not understand, Renth admitted. How can you forgive after everything that was done to you? Hayes smiled sadly. We have not forgiven. We remember every injustice, every world taken from us, every insult and dismissal. But we chose not to let bitterness define us. We chose to be better than our anger. He gestured to the view screen showing the recovering fleet. Your species and mine, working together, just saved billions of lives. That is more important than old grudges. That is worth fighting for. Renth understood then what made humans different. Not their technology or their military skill. It was their ability to choose compassion over revenge, to value others even when it would be easier to walk away. The galaxy had tried to erase humanity. Instead, it created something remarkable. Reconstruction began immediately after the battle. Damaged stations needed repair, wounded soldiers required medical care, and refugees wanted to return home. The galaxy had survived, but barely. Ambassador Grace walked through the Council Headquarters Memorial Hall, reading names of the fallen. Humans and dozens of other species listed together. No superación, no distinction. Just people who gave their lives for others. The emergency council session convened in a chamber, still showing scorch marks from devourer weapons that had breached the outer defenses. Every species sent their highest representatives. This meeting would determine the future of galactic civilization. The Krell chairman spoke first. His voice was heavy with emotion. We owe humanity an apology. Not just for the exile 500 years ago, but for everything that followed. We dismissed you, forgot you, assumed you would disappear. Instead, you became our saviors. He stood, and every other representative rose with him. On behalf of the Galactic Council, we formally apologize to the Terran Union and all human beings. Our actions were wrong. Our judgment was flawed. You deserved better. Grace remained seated. She let the moment stretch. Then she spoke quietly. Your apology is noted. But words are cheap. What matters is what comes next. We are offering full council membership, the chairman said, with enhanced voting rights and permanent security council status. We accept, Grace replied, on 3 conditions. First, no species can ever be exiled without unanimous consent from every council member. What you did to us must never happen again. The chamber murmured agreement. Second, we establish protections for developing species. No more exploitation. No more claiming primitive worlds as resources. Every species gets the chance to grow at their own pace. More nods. Several representatives looked ashamed, remembering their own colonial histories. Third, all military technology sharing agreements must be reciprocal and transparent. No more hoarding advanced weapons. If we're going to defend this galaxy together, we do it with equal access to the tools we need. The chairman hesitated. That condition meant giving up technological advantages that some species had maintained for centuries. But after watching human weapons save them from the devourers, arguing seemed pointless. Agreed, he said. All conditions accepted. Grace stood then. The Terran Union looks forward to working with the Council as equals. Over the following weeks, more revelations emerged about humanity's secret contributions. Medical researchers discovered that breakthrough treatments for 3 different diseases came from human laboratories. Engineers found that their most efficient solar collectors were based on human designs. Agricultural specialists learned that crop yields had increased across the galaxy thanks to human genetic modifications. For 500 years, humans have been the invisible foundation of galactic progress. Rinth requested a private meeting with Grace. They met in a garden terrace overlooking the council district. Earth plants grew alongside alien vegetation, mixing together naturally. I have a question, Rinth said. It has been bothering me since the battle. Go ahead, Grace encouraged. Why help us? Rinth asked. I read the historical records. When the council exiled humanity, my species voted in favor. We wanted you gone. We took your colony worlds for ourselves. You should hate us. Grace was quiet for a moment, watching the mixed garden. Do you know what the hardest part of the exile was? Not the resource shortages or the technological setbacks. It was the children. She turned to face him. We had an entire generation of human children who grew up knowing the galaxy had rejected them. They asked why. Why did the other species not want us? What did we do wrong? How do you explain that to a 6-year-old? Rinth felt ashamed hearing this. We made a choice then, Grace continued. We could raise those children to hate, to seek revenge, to become exactly what the galaxy feared we were. Or we could teach them something different. We chose to show them that the measure of a person is not how others treat you, but how you treat others. Even those who wrong you. Rinth asked, especially those who wrong you. Grace confirmed. Hatred is easy. Bitterness costs nothing. But choosing compassion, choosing to help even those who hurt you, that requires strength. That is what we wanted our children to learn. She smiled. And it worked. Those children grew up and had children of their own. Generation after generation, choosing to be better than their anger. Until helping others became who we are. Not because we forget the past, but because we refused to let it poison our future. Rinth understood then. Humanity had not forgiven the exile. They had transcended it. What happens now, he asked. Now we build, Grace said. Together. Human innovation combined with galactic diversity. We have technology you need. You have perspectives we lack. Cooperation makes everyone stronger. The formal treaty signing took place 1 month later. Representatives from every species gathered. The document was simple but profound. Equal partnership, shared defense, open technology exchange, protection for all species. When Grace signed for the Terran Union, she added a handwritten note in the margin. Future historians would debate its meaning, but to those present it was clear. The note read, "Cast out and forgotten no more. We remember, we grew, we returned, and we brought hope." The ceremony ended with a moment that nobody planned. The human delegation began singing. An old Earth song about overcoming hardship. Other species did not know the words, but they recognized the emotion. Within minutes, everyone was joining in, humming or adding their own sounds to the harmony. Different species, different languages, different histories. But in that moment, united, the galaxy had spent 500 years thinking humanity was erased from history. Instead, those centuries created something remarkable. A species that valued unity over division, cooperation over conquest, protection over revenge. Humanity had secretly forged an empire, not through domination, but through becoming indispensable. Not through fear, but through proving their worth every single day. They had been cast out and forgotten. But they came back stronger, wiser, and more determined than ever to make the galaxy a better place. And this time, nobody would forget them.